Good morning, everybody, and I'm delighted this morning to be asked to address the conference on the topic of citizen science, and specifically on a project I'm involved in managing, which is Explore Your Shore. This is Ireland. With a declared sea area of 880,000 square kilometres, it has habitats as rich and diverse as any found on land, ranging from underwater mountains to deep abyssal waters, chasms and canyons, and shallower coastal plains. And that means that in addition to the Ireland we live on and know, there are 10 more Irelands out there, beneath the seas. 10 more Irelands, little explored, poorly understood. But we need to know more about those Irelands. We need to know more about the habitats they contain and the species within those biodiversity-rich seas. And so, we need to explore. Despite being an island nation and an island people surrounded by the sea, we don't have a strong tradition of marine biodiversity data recording in Ireland. If we look at distribution maps for even really common species, we find large data gaps. Take for example the beadlet anemone, where we have only 400 records of this species that is found on every single rocky shore around the country. Compare that to one of the common terrestrial species, the fox, for example. Even though it's common, it's incredibly difficult to spot a fox. They're largely nocturnal and shy of people, and yet we have 11,000 records. So it gives you some idea of the challenge that we're up against. And so in 2019 we launched Explore Your Shore. Explore Your Shore is a project of the National Biodiversity Data Centre and is funded by the Environmental Protection Agency. The idea of the project is to act as a shop front for marine citizen science biodiversity data recording in Ireland. And our home is at exploreyourshore.ie. So why do we need to collect this sort of marine biodiversity data at all? Well, one of the big issues we face in terms of conservation is shifting baselines. Each new generation perceives the world around them as normal. But it's only if you, for example, talk to your parents, or your grandparents, or your great-grandparents, you get some idea of what marine biodiversity we've lost over the past 100 years. For example, this little chap here is a purple sea urchin, and it used to be incredibly abundant all along the west coast of Ireland. However, due to overfishing that started in the 1980s, this species was largely extinct along the west coast of Ireland by the late 1990s. We could often see the little grooves that it etched for itself in the rock, but we'd see no sea urchins. And even since the halt of commercial fishing in the late 90s, we still receive very few records of this species. So today, if you go along the west coast of Ireland, you might perceive that there are no purple sea urchins and there never were. However, the grooves in the rocks and the knowledge of those older generations would tell you that this once incredibly abundant species has been lost. And there's a whole plethora of marine species for which the story is the same. And it's only by collecting a steady stream of marine biodiversity data that we can monitor the impact of our activities on marine species and monitor their recovery if that recovery occurs at all. Another reason we want to monitor marine species is to observe the impacts of climate change. Marine species are highly mobile and are largely not restrained by physical boundaries to their distribution. Ireland also lies along a biogeographic boundary with cold temperate waters to the north and warmer temperate waters to the south. And so we look for species that have distributions that are limited by climate and by water temperature. For example, the common sunstar prefers colder waters, and we can see its distribution is largely restricted to the north part of Ireland. As waters around our coast warm due to the impacts of climate change, we expect to see the common sunstar retreat northwards and indeed disappear from around the Irish coastline. And we expect to see warmer water species encroaching from the south. We also want to monitor our coastal species as indicators of water quality. Generally around the Irish coast we have good water quality. However, in our bays and estuaries there has been notable decline in water quality over recent years with agricultural runoff and other pollutants. Some species, such as the green seaweeds, may be indicators of water enrichment, and other species, for example seagrass, are good indicators for good water quality. And of course we want to monitor for the arrival and spread of invasive marine species. Global trade has brought some unwelcome visitors to our doorstep over the years, and some of these species have the ability to outcompete native species and, for example with wireweed in this case, can fundamentally alter native marine habitats. Explore Your Shore offers the public several ways of getting involved in marine biodiversity citizen science recording. Seashore Spotter enables people to record and submit their casual records of marine species when they're out and about near the shore. The Big Beach Biodiversity Survey looks at particularly bivalve biodiversity. Seashore Snapshots is a digital survey of sessile species on the rocky shore, and the Rocky Shore Safari is a classic intertidal Rocky Shore Biodiversity Survey. Since 2019, over 6,000 marine biodiversity records have been submitted to Explore Your Shore from all around the coast of Ireland, and numbers of records being submitted are increasing year on year. And of course, by no means is Explore Your Shore the first marine biodiversity citizen science data recording scheme in Ireland. Some projects have been ongoing for 30 years or more at this stage, and we work with a whole suite of partner surveys who are collecting marine biodiversity citizen science data, and that data eventually makes its way to the National Biodiversity Data Centre, where it's available for the public to view and explore. And Explore Your Shore is also involved in biodiversity recording training and public education. For example, we prepare posters in partnership with some of the national newspapers, as well as publishing our own educational materials and identification training aids. More recently, we've worked with the Marine Institute's Explorers Education Programme, producing a workbook linked to the primary school curriculum and focusing on using the seashore as an educational resource, but also including material on marine biodiversity citizen science. And that workbook is available to download at exploreyoursshore.ie. And we're also developing a marine biodiversity citizen science post-primary training module in collaboration with the Waterford Wexford Educational Training Board. So please do come and visit us and interact with us on our Facebook page at Explore Your Shore. And please visit our website at exploreyoursshore.ie to find out more about the project, to find out about our individual biodiversity surveys and our partner surveys, to explore the resources page and all its links and information, and to track project progress. Thank you for listening this morning, and good morning.